salute His Holiness Pope Francis for giving us hospice to host this amazing event. I also salute the eminences who greeted us today, to welcome us in this space. I thank you, Sir Gabriel. I thank you, Sir Dustin, for inviting me in this amazing event. I greet all of you distinguished speakers and honorable guests. Protocol requires that I introduce myself accordingly. I am Queen Diambi Kabatusuila, Mukalenga Mukajiwa Nkashama, Bakwa Lunta Wabaluba wa Kasai wa Congo. That is Diambi, the bearer of good news, woman king of the order of the Leopard, of the Baluba people, of the Bakwa Lunta people who are part of the Luba ethnic group in the Democratic Republic of Congo today. But I'm also Grande Mai do Povo Bantu Brasileiro, traditional queen of the African Brazilians, the Afro-Brazilian, a population of nearly, I think, close to 100 million people, as well as Reina de los Congo de Panama, the African descendants of Panama. So I'm so happy to be speaking on the beginning. And it's quite interesting that my speech is called Beginning, but yet I'm speaking now. And I think it's quite interesting because it demonstrates of something quite remarkable. Sometimes we have to remember, and I think this is why I'm speaking now. I am here as a representative of the African continent and African people. And last time I checked, we are about 2 billion people on the planet. Well, actually, we are 8 billion because every Homo sapien sapien here in this planet is an African citizen, either on the continent of Africa or outside of Africa. So all of you actually are African citizens, African people in the world. So I'm very happy to talk about the beginning because oftentimes I've been in many rooms and many major conferences and all over the world, and even here, Africa is oftentimes so little represented. And the voice of Africa is oftentimes not heard, but yet it's our longest standing voice ever on this planet. Considering we are about 350,000 roughly for the latest finding in the caves in Morocco, and probably older than that, Homo sapiens sapien, modern humans, have been around for at least maybe 400,000 years, if not more. And out of this experience, we just started to leave the continent of Africa 70,000 years ago. So to give you a perspective, it's if humanity was 100 years old today, she left Africa when she was 80 years old. And yet her story is never told. And we assume that the story of the past 3,000 years is the story of humanity. And I think that the beginning is also, for me, an indication that sometimes when you get lost, you need to go back to square one or reset to factory setting when you don't work properly anymore. And when we have developed a civilization, when we literally create devices that can blow up the planet, not once, not twice, but 60,000 times, I think it's a time to start asking ourselves if we don't need a reset. And let me tell you a little bit more about your heritage, because the heritage of that continent belongs to humanity. We have cities that are 200,000 years old in South Africa that are built remarkably and well preserved that you never probably hear about. In Congo, we are doing mathematics 25,000 years ago with the prime numbers, by the way, with the bone of Ishango. So they were very, very good mathematicians. We have the atom clock in South Africa 70,000 years ago, predicting all the solstices and all kinds of movements of stars 70,000 years ago. We have Napta Playa 7,000 years ago in the south of Egypt with the border of Sudan. That's 7,000 years ago. We have the first mummification of a human being that we found in Africa, south of the Sahara Desert, almost 1,000 years, 1,500 years before the first mummy in Kemet. But yet, those information are not taught to us. And we continue to believe that Africa is a place where there is no knowledge, where there is no wisdom, and yet there is an abundance of wisdom and abundance of knowledge. And the problem with that is when we ignore a continent so vast, with so much diversity, and that has been so far a net contributor to human history, including spreading humanity all over the world, but not just, we lose the ability to use our heritage. And when we build things without a heritage, we start off lacking of information to inform our model. So basically, a lot of you here are very smart and are doing amazing work and you are passionate about your field, and it's a great thing. But imagine if you had known already that back in long time ago, thousands of years ago, when we built cities in Africa, they are all built based on a fractal mathematical model. What would have that changed in the way we build cities all over the world? If we had asked ourselves the questions, why do they do that? If we had known thousands of years ago that we already have the ability to encode information in the binary code system on the African continent because it's an African invention, how far more could have we been into developing different technologies to make our lives better all over the world? So for me today to say Sankofa, it's a Twi word to say sometimes we need to stop and we need to look back and see what was good, to fetch it, to bring it back to the forefront so we can move in a better direction. So what I'm trying to say here is that we can no longer ignore the amazing potential that Africa has for us in terms of discovery and understanding of who we are truly, tapping into that heritage and also seizing the opportunity to do anew and to not make the mistakes we made everywhere else. And because Africa is our home continent, Africa is where we all come from. And every one of you, no matter what culture you come from, you know that without honoring your mother, as it is even mentioned in the Bible, honor your parent. Our mother is that continent. So we need to take a fresh look and we need to invite the people who are so knowledge about, those who have so much knowledge about nature. And I think Christina was talking about ancestry earlier. But we have been honoring our ancestors from the beginning of time. We never stop because we know that we are only a manifestation of a people. So we're never a person. We're always a people. And we're not just a person, people. We are also a person with the entire ecosystem. Because the word Ubuntu means I am because you are. So I would not exist without you. But I would also not exist without a tree. So it's I am because you are a tree. I am because you are a river. I am because you are a fish. I am because you are a roach. So we don't look at our world in a mechanistic view with all parts total equal a whole. There is more than whole. You cannot add all the parts and get the answers to the whole. We have to understand that the creator will never know the creator. We can only glimpse at its design by looking at how the creator built nature. And this is what inspired some of the design that you see of ancient African cities, thousands of years old. As you can see, some mathematicians from MIT have studied the aerial view of one city. The top one is Cameroon, and you can see that the city, when you have the blueprint, is all fractal mathematics. Another city, ancient city in South Africa, look at the city. It's organized in fractals, but it's not just the material organization, it's also the social organization to keep balance, homeostasis. And the last one is in Mali. It's an ancient city, and look at the blueprint of that city. And yet they didn't have measurement, the super measurement. They didn't have cameras. They didn't have the robots and AI to do all these things. They had natural intelligence, but the natural intelligence that they had was tapping into the greater intelligence, the intelligence that creates all, the intelligence from which we spring, the intelligence that we are. So altogether, I'm here to say we are all a piece of the puzzle of all that intelligence, but there is so much more, and we have to be humble to know that we will never know everything. Because if I had a tree of which the leaf never fell, or a flower that never faded, it would be a sad reality. So yes, sometimes we do have to fade away, and sometimes we have to our trees have, our leaves have to fall so that we can live life to anew. Thank you.